Well, if it'll actually start working.
Hey, I see the yellow live sign. It is working.
Yay! We're live! Unlike a
Yeah,
lot of people in Alexandria are about to be. But
I
welcome.
know.
Welcome to Let's Chat, the newest, most popular chat on the entire internet. Yay!
And the episode for this past Sunday, yesterday's episode was Heads Up.
Now, I wonder if that heads up was a ploy from the balloons and the.
Hang on, we got
Oh,
issues.
Lord, we're rookies.
Hold on, wait a minute. No, we're not rookies. Sorry, I'm gonna kill you. Okay, the ad came on my YouTube. I'm sorry, it unmuted. All right, get it together. Everybody breathe. Okay, I'm sorry. The ad came on and I couldn't make it stop because you were going, yay, and it gave me the giggles. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we've got Mouse laughing.
Maybe we shouldn't have gone live yet. Okay, I'll be okay. Okay, so what did you think when it started? And it was Glenn, also known to Tommy as Glean. And I was so upset that they're showing him falling in slow motion off the dumpster because I didn't want to relive that drama, you know?
Yeah, but that's kind of a crappy way for him to live through it. I mean, there was 100 walkers around him, and they just happened to every one of those walkers grabbed what you call him. I can't remember the dude's name. Every one of them grabbed or bit him. Not a single one of them bit Glenn.
Nick, and you're still presenting me to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had the giggles. Nobody needs to see that up close and personal. Yeah, Nick was the guy who fell on him, and it was because when it ended, what, 2 Sundays ago, Glenn was screaming like a wild banshee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
hmm Oh, and then when he had to get under the dumpster and he couldn't even drink the water because it was so close under the dumpster. Ooh, and then he's having to stick some in the head. The zombies who realized he was under there. Oh, that really creeped me out because I thought, oh my God, did they just make me go through this? So I have to see him die, what I thought he died the first time.
Well, see, that's what I was wondering because I knew once he got under the dumpster, he could kill enough walkers to where they would be a natural, you know, boundary around him.
Yeah.
So nothing else could get to him because it'd all squish in on him. But
Yes.
how did not even one single walker bite him as he fell on the ground and he starts crawling under it while poor old Nick's getting chewed to death if he's not already dead from the gunshot wound?
Yeah,
So,
from
there's hundreds of them around him. How did he not get one little bite?
well, let's just rejoice in the fact that he did not, shall we?
No, I wanted him to die.
Oh, you're so cruel. Will you unpresent me before I have to poke a stick in your eye?
I thought I did.
You didn't.
Oh, this stupid thing. It's not cooperating tonight.
This is going to be interesting. Oh my gosh. Oh, Lord. So, and then when he was laying under there and he looks over to his right, Glenn, also known as Glean, and he's looking right at Nick, that scared me because I thought, holy cow, Nick's gonna, but he shot himself in the head. But I thought if he could zombie out, he could draw all the attention to Glenn. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then when it gets dark and he's still under there, thank goodness he's a little skinny Asian dude. You know what I mean?
No joke.
And I just thought I would be so freaking parched at that point. And as soon as he gets out and he's able to empty his water bottle out, I mean, it felt like I took a big drink. You know what I mean?
Well,
Ugh.
it was
Oh,
kind of odd. Like, where did he get the bottle of water?
that rolled out from under them. Remember, their pack was there. They had their pack because he ended up picking the pack up when he got out and looked up at Enid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had. Remember that he always has his pack with him.
Oh, and Enid, that girl, she needs to die too. But
Oh my God, she is literally the Walking Dead. She is so boring. She's no more traumatized than anybody else in this. To me, she saw her parents get eaten. She ate a raw turtle. She's been no more, just in my opinion, than Carl, Ron, anybody else who's there. But her character is just so deadpan,
no,
just
she might.
void of emotion.
Her parents might have died in the zombie apocalypse, but Carl killed his mama.
Yeah, well, that's because Carl's got to do what Carl's got to do.
And he's ate a possum and a raccoon, and so
Dog food, remember?
and a number
From a can.
chocolate pudding.
Oh yeah.
Just
But
saying.
what gets me is Enid is up there, and the guy gets out from under the dumpster just blinded by the sunlight, and she yells, "Heads up." You can tell he can't even see yet. And the water bottle breaks, and of course she has to say SHIT because they have to get, now they're saying a-hole on the show. They're like, okay, we need to add so many of these curse words every episode, which is a bummer. Right? So then it hits the ground and breaks. And then Glenn goes flying through the window of the building. I'm thinking, I sure wish he could have got up there when him and Nick were running, to the dead end fence and dumpster in the alley.
Yeah. That leaves a real interesting question: was the window open?
See, well, I think he had to make some noise when he first went into it, but it seemed like it was a furniture shop or a hoarder's house, something, because he had to knock some things out of the windowsill, right? And then he goes in and he sees empty food cans on the floor, that have just been opened with a little hand can opener. That was pretty weird.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How long has she been staying in that little building?
Yeah, is that where she goes every time that she crawls over the wall?
And was she in there long enough to watch Nick die when she could have saved both of them?
Exactly. See, we don't know, but she's an odd little duck. Then Glenn asks her what happened in Alexandria. We heard gunfire, and then later, a little later, he talks about an air horn or something. And she gives one of those cryptic responses, and she said, "What happened is what always happens. People died. You should go." No compassion for him that she's just left Alexandria, where she had food, water, looking all fresh, and just absolutely no compassion for another human being.
Yeah, and then he starts asking, well, what about my wife? And the big shockers, I did not know that she had told Glenn that she was pregnant, because he said, what about my baby?
Okay, see? Yes, mind blowing. And then she takes off without answering him. And notice there's not a zombie in town now, right? And when he's yelling after her, Enid, Enid, I'm like, you idiot, use your little voice. He knows she ran from him, but any kind of noise, what draws walkers.
Oh, yeah.
So then he's kind of lost her. And then next we come up on Rick is walking the wall, right, at Alexandria. Morgan's in the field, and Rick says they should talk later. There were some kind of wasted scenes that I'm not used to seeing.
Yeah.
There's normally not wasted scenes.
I think the whole Morgan thing was pretty much a wasted scene, except for when he went and went and talked to that girl in the infirmary.
Denise, the doctor.
Yeah. I think everything with him was wasted, except for, they should have shot him in the head for letting all them wolves go, but that's beside the point.
Yes, and they come into that. They actually have that conversation, thankfully, later, because that was ridiculous. One thing I don't get is Rick, when Rick's at the wall, again, he sees the blood coming through the wall, the little hole, in the regular metal or whatever they use, the corrugated stuff. And I don't understand what the significance is unless it's a fresher walker up at the front, right? And they're being smushed by the herd behind them. But I don't quite understand what the blood coming through that hole is.
Yeah, I didn't really get it that good either.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
What's the significance? But they never really tell you.
No. Then Rick goes up the ladder, right, to the tower or the wall top, and Maggie's there. And he says, "You ain't got to be up here so much." And she wants to be up there because, and she points the direction she's looking. She said, "This is the direction he'll come, or we can see his signal." She doesn't mention, Sasha, Abraham, and Glenn, but Rick does, right?
Yeah.
And he wants to really think of a way to draw the walkers away, but he wants to do it right this time so that they, whether it's Glenn, Daryl, Sasha, Abraham, can walk right in, which I thought was very positive thinking on his. And because I was thinking the same thing, they can't get back in with 20 deep walkers around there,
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought Patty would be used for, and then all of a sudden,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fuel truck, right, Patty?
Yeah.
Right on. Then we go back to Glenn in the alley. I kind of didn't like the back and forth. And he sees one of his Alexandrian residents alive, and it was David, the one who Michonne said he'd get back to Betsy, and he had written the note on the cash register receipt. Michonne wouldn't take it because she said he'd get it there. And Glenn, he was still alive. Glenn's, knifed him in the head. And then thankfully he saw the note. Now this
the one that Jesse knifed the week before or something.
Well, you remember this is when they were out there and the dumb kid shot the guy who's still in the infirmary in the leg.
Yeah.
When the herd broke off, this is the guy who was with Michonne. She wrote on her arm, "You will get home. You'll bring it to her yourself." And his name was David. So that's who he was. And Glenn thankfully put him out of his misery because he was stuck there as a walker. But this is what I didn't get. So Glenn almost climbs the fence, but then he comes down. And I guess that's when he decided I have to go back for Enid. But I thought Enid could have run anywhere. You know what I mean? He didn't know she'd be in a cafe.
First off, Glenn is not a tracker, so how the heck did he track her down?
He is so not close to an Indian tracker or even a guy from old Daniel Boone's series. It's not even funny.
Yeah, he's not Daryl.
No, he ain't Darrell. He ain't Merle. He don't know what he's doing. So then, right, then we come up on the Reverend, and I wish PJ or Oily were here because they probably know. And we're back in Alexandria, and the Reverend's putting flyers on the houses. And I couldn't read it, and I don't have a DVD, DVR, whatever the heck it is. And clearly Rick doesn't want to speak to the Reverend, so he walks right past him, and he rips one off the wall. And Carl's like, "Dad," right? But did you see what the flyer said Gabriel was putting up there?
Yeah, it was like a prayer circle at like 1 p.m. or 1:30 or something like that.
Hang on one second. I had to get my husband to turn off the gas logs because it's like 48 degrees outside and I was freezing. Now I'm hot. Has to flip the switch. Okay, so it was just a little mean. Gabriel should not still be in there. He's such a creepy creep, right?
Yeah, they ought to. I mean, there's a lot of them that's really weird and odd that they really don't need. And Gabriel's putting nothing into the storyline at the moment.
Oh no, and Ron could not be weirder. I thought he was unattractive with that weird sweater hat he wears, like he's trying to be a homeboy from the hood. And he looks even worse without that. And then Carl and Rick are teaching him about guns and his clip, his magazine, where to put his finger. And Carl is adding these little snarky lines, right, that he shouldn't be doing with a kid who's his age, who's his contemporary. You know what I mean? So, and I understand they need to teach him how to defend himself to defend the inside of Alexandria, but there's no one else with them that they're training. And the kid Ron is 8 ways of weirdo. Can I have live ammo? Could I shoot him from the top of the wall? Rick has to explain the noise attracts them. And then the idiot goes, well, I could do it in the center of town. That was a whole lot of wasted dialogue, right? Or use a silencer. Yeah, because we've all got one of those in our back pocket, you know?
Oh, yeah. I know what he was up to. He was just trying to get a feel for the gun for when he tries to kill Rick or Carl.
Oh, I think he would have tried to shoot him right there.
Oh, yeah. But
And then, go ahead.
now, Carl, when he added in you got to be tough enough to wait for your shot.
Yes.
I've got to give it to him. The boy's been through hell. I mean, he's seen it all now. There's nothing he's not seen. He almost got raped by some crazy big dude who wanted to eat him.
Yeah.
He's killed his mama. He's killed people. I mean, he's ate a number 10 can of pudding on top of a roof with a walker trying to eat him.
Yes.
The boy's seen it all. There's nothing he can't, he's an old soul now.
That's true. But he was just a little, but he doesn't know how to behave with a kid his own age. That he was kind of being a smart alecky. You don't know. Rick was being, macho, explaining it. And I just can't believe they didn't have a conversation about it before. But Rick seems broken, that he's not putting this stuff together. It shouldn't have been a one-on-one with Ron. There are plenty of other men he could have had out there because, Sasha was doing machete training on a group, not just one.
No, that was Rosalita.
Rosita, that's it. Yes,
Yeah.
Rosita was doing it. But Rick and Carl shouldn't have just been doing a one-on-one with Ron, in my opinion.
I can't figure out how they're not putting 2 and 2 together, because Rick killed his daddy. How do they not expect him to want to kill one of them to get back at him for it?
Because they haven't quite put together yet that these people have been so sheltered. See, in Ron's real world, even though his dad was abusive, he can't raise his left arm over his head. They do not understand the mentality or the importance of having a live people, right, to help combat the walkers. And he's just an angry kid. But this is what happens with a lot of people who are abused, is you go through a lot of trouble protecting that abuser.
Yeah.
But the mom hasn't handled that well. And heck, Denise, the doctor, is a psychiatrist, remember?
Yeah.
So then we got Rick walking down the street. He sees Morgan outside the doctor's office, right? And he goes, can we talk now? I was like, yeah, this is great time and not so much. So then we end up with Carol, Michonne, Rick, and Morgan sitting at a table. And Rick explains the 5 wolves, the wolves, whatever, the wolf, the W people on their forehead, how they got to his RV, right? And then he ended up, they shot up the RV.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, disabling it. And Carol says, you would not kill him. And he does admit, Morgan, that he let them go.
Hey, Moms. Well, I mean, he didn't deny it a bit.
No.
But, when you're in the situation, I get, trying to be good to people. And, like Daryl's trying to bring new people in and stuff. But when you got people that break into your home and slaughter people mercilessly, you do not let them walk away. If they do go away, they're probably going to come back again.
Yes, and Carol was too busy at the time, but I was glad she noticed he let him get away. Hey, Moms.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Then Morgan, I like the one dialogue I enjoyed was when Morgan explained, remember how he went crazy after Rick got out of the hospital? He stabbed him, right? And he says when Rick got it together, he didn't kill him. And Rick goes, but that's because I knew you. I knew who you are then. So that makes a good connection on that Morgan really does believe there's goodness in all of them somewhere.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can get the there's goodness in them somewhere, but after they just killed 5 or 10 of your own family, what you would consider family and friends now,
Yes.
There's no reason to let them walk away. There's no good in that.
No. Mm-mm. And then Morgan says he doesn't know what's right anymore. He believes people can change. And then he does the Eastman 4 words, right? All life is precious. And I love when Michonne said, it ain't that easy. It ain't as simple as 4 words. And she was spot on.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's very hard. And all life should be precious. But good God, we've met the governor, right? The Terminus people. It's a shame that you have as much to fear, maybe more to fear, from those who are alive than the walkers, who you pretty much know how to deal with,
Well, that's kind of the STF situation in any idea. There are going to be really bad people that are going to do really, really bad things, and you're going to have to learn to deal with them. You can't let them walk away.
That's right, because they come back. It's like having somebody in a prepper group, right? And you're all out somewhere, and 3 of them are misbehaving, and you let them walk out of there. They're going to go tell 15 people you got stuff. The way they walk out of there is in a body bag.
I mean, Rick learned it in a hard lesson. The Terminus people.
Yes.
He let them live because he just walked away and thinking the walkers were going to finish them.
Yes.
They come back and eat Bob. Poor Bob.
Yes. Poor Bob. Bob paid the ultimate price. Exactly. So Rick has had a lot more experiences that way. Then this surprised me. Morgan asks if he belongs there. And Rick says, as things are now, do you think you can't get blood on your hands? And Morgan says he doesn't know. Because everybody who he lets get past him, or if he's just going to stand there rendering people unconscious in a battle, they're going to come to, right, and rise up and sneak up behind somebody like Carol. Hey, Jason. Sorry you had trouble getting your link.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason.
I've been getting them lately. Like
oh yeah, the run. YouTube bell is like, it's like freaking broken, man. You know. Now, moms, what did you think? Talk to us about Glenn, also known as Glenn, crawling out from under the dumpster, and what you thought of the beginning. And we've just been into the first about 20 minutes of the episode.
I really enjoyed this episode. Basically, I loved the special effects that they did on it. I thought those walkers were absolutely wonderful. That were surrounding Glenn. They started out in Smomo, and then they ended it that way too. So I thought that was pretty cool. But did you all notice the plastic? Whenever Glenn fell off that dumpster with whatever his name was,
Nick.
Can't remember. Yeah, there was no plastic. There was zombies all around them.
Yes.
And then they put that plastic up, I bet, so nobody could see what they were filming, because there was plastic all over the place.
Okay.
On the fencing, on the windows.
And it was that white opaque plastic. And I thought the same thing. I said,
yeah.
Because we had remember we had walkers on the other side of the dumpster, on the other side of the fence, and it was one of the few editing mistakes they have made. Because you noticed it, I noticed it, I went, where the heck do all this like curtains come from?
Yeah, and the only thing I could figure out is they don't want people to see what they're filming. They don't want to see anybody to know that Glenn was alive.
Go ahead, Jason.
What if Eden had put it up somehow? Because it was even in the window.
Not with all those zombies down there.
Right.
But I do think that she's the one that rolled that can. And then one of the zombies, one of the female zombies, was looking up, like where she threw that water bottle down at her.
Yeah.
At Glenn. I thought, she's the one that got those zombies out of there.
Maybe, and then we saw the cans in her apartment. Oops, Moms, you're muted. Your lips are moving, but I couldn't hear you.
I am having so much trouble tonight with my computer.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, can hear you perfect. Yeah, we could see you, everything. It just did that. Don't worry, it happens. Yeah, well, we got bad weather and some high winds, you know. And yes, Fuzz Fork, Glenn, Tommy did notice that old Glenn is alive. He refers to him as Glean now because he can't spell. So he's the character formerly known as Glenn is known as Glean to us.
No. I spelled his
Yes,
name
no, I-
completely wrong because I want Glean to die.
He will.
That's terrible. Okay, Jason, don't be cruel. Mom's has just been resurrected from her Glenn coming out from under that dumpster.
Okay,
You know?
now look. If y'all get to keep Daryl, we get to kill Glean. That's
Okay.
the trade-off here.
Well,
Okay.
Let's face it, it's coming up. It'll probably be this season, before the end of the season, that he actually does go.
Who?
Well, I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I would be thinking.
Are you talking about Daryl making the dead?
No. Glenn.
Okay. Glenn. Okay. Yeah, because Tommy, don't talk anymore about Daryl making the dead. It's cruel. I'm supposed to be your friend. I don't talk about your little ugly Maggie who's really British, right? Okay, making the dead and upset you because you have a crush on her, clearly.
Oh, Maggie might be in trouble. She went up that ladder whenever the walkers were coming in the Alexandria.
It didn't look
In
good,
the
did it?
preview, I
Yep.
paused it really quick. There's it just maybe like a millisecond. It just showed it. Maggie just hanging there, but the ladder is down.
Mm.
And then later
Oh,
it shows her on the ground, probably with one of her ARs or sniper rifles.
right,
Trying
no,
to get shots off of them.
Oh my God! Now imagine if Glenn makes it back in,
Oh,
and Maggie's just got ate with his baby. Because remember, they're going to rip up her abdomen and go for that.
Now,
yeah.
now if it follows true to the graphic novel, she will not die yet.
Yeah. She actually, I think, goes off with, the RV is still, I think, is still there. Dale's RV. Because I remember her going off with 2 twins and her baby just to live off somewhere.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Okay, that's bugging. Well, now we start. I didn't like Moms or Jason. I was telling Tommy the way this kind of jumped from story to story, how long it took to, we'd go from Glenn and Eden, and then we'd go back to Alexandria and some wasted dialogue and stuff. But then we were slowly seeing the tower crack. And was that tower part of a church? Is that what that was? Is that the
Yeah.
steeple? Okay,
Maybe.
all right. I knew y'all would know. Okay, so we
And I
start
thought that
seeing
was
it.
ridiculous.
What?
Rick was working directly in under that tower.
Thank
Boards
you.
are falling off of it. You could hear it cracking and moaning.
Yeah.
Why are we bracing the fence when we're not paying attention to that bell tower?
Yes. And then the other guys, they're helping him. You know what I mean? So then we got Michonne and Rick talking, right, about how to get back to their cars at the quarry. And he goes, we just need to catch our breath. And Michonne looks at him and goes, really? That's all we've been doing is catching our breath, right? Anything else is excuses. Then Diana comes up and rolls her little hand-drawn blueprint, remember?
Oh God, yeah.
And I liked it was wasteful if she wouldn't have said, because there will be an after this. I do like her positive attitude, but Rick is not able to focus anymore. Doesn't seem to be able to focus. And Michonne looked at him like he had 2 heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part of
Well,
it don't make.
Go ahead, Tommy.
That part of it to me doesn't make sense because, Rick's always so on it, and now all of a sudden it's, we gotta take a breath.
Yeah.
It's not his character.
While we've got Daryl and Sasha and Abraham and Glenn out there.
Yeah, he would be doing everything he can to get what he considers his family back.
Yeah.
And that's
Go
what
ahead.
he is thinking. He's not thinking a unity with the townspeople. He's thinking, I got to protect my people. How am I going to protect my people? You know, Deanna is absolutely nuts for bringing me these plans. I got more important things to think about. You know, he doesn't want to
Yes.
hear anything about unity. And then at the very end, where Deanna asks him about, you know, why'd you save my son?
Mhm.
You know, or thank you, and why did you do it? You
Mhm.
know, there's a deeper answer to what he was saying. You know, so I think he's starting to realize, okay, maybe this is, you know, we should unify with these people. But I think what you're going to see is he's going to get blamed for everything, and then they're going to try to oust him, and Morgan is going to try to take over.
Whoa, and we're going to be the city of love. Let's learn how to just render people unconscious, right? And beat them with our sticks. We're going to have a bunch of people out there looking like the old people on the beach doing karate in slow motion, whatever that garbage is called.
You're talking about the katas?
Yes, that's it cracks me up. Okay, now we get to Rosita looking all sexy thug right in the middle of town doing machete training.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's one woman with long black hair who looks like she's had a complete nervous breakdown. She was scaring me having a machete, right? And Eugene is there looking, with his hair game, his mullet game. And she tells him he needs to be afraid of the living. And I loved when she said this, as those around you die and you failed to help them. When he thought, what's the point? And I loved the reality of it, the facts of it about a machete. You can't let it get stuck in the bone. It's why when you hear of somebody stab somebody 40 times, to understand the rage a person has, when you stab someone, the body makes a vacuum over it. It takes an enormous amount of force to get a knife on. It's why most military knives have a serrated end, closest to the handle. But when you hear of like a woman stabbing a man 40 times, that homegirl had his testosterone in her and a buttload of adrenaline. So I loved Rosita talking about, you got to go clean through or it'll stick in the bone.
Yeah, that's the reason
And
the like katanas and stuff have the blood groove, is so it doesn't create the vacuum.
gotcha.
And plus muscles tense up around the thing
Oh,
of that
Yeah.
area.
Yep. So I love the Rosita and then but Eugene walked away after that exchange with her. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And here she's doing training. Go ahead, Tommy.
Eugene's true to himself. He is a coward. I mean, that's all he is. He's a coward.
He's only done one thing, that is to outrank. It's like saving Tara and everybody else, well, except for Noah.
Well,
And
see,
driving off in the van, yeah, making the music. I almost cried. I was so proud of him. Come on, you zombies, follow me. He got courage, and now he's lost it.
Yeah.
well, it's kind of
I
the fight or flight thing when he's in that situation. He will fight for his friends, but any other time he's just plumb out coward.
He just can't do it. Go ahead,
I thought
Moms.
he had the quote of the week. He said, "I'm a weapons novice holding a significant blade here, and there's people in my proximity with open-toed shoes."
I
So
loved
I
it.
just thought that was hilarious.
I laugh because that's the Eugene we know with the talking. I felt that in this situation, right? I thought it just
Yeah.
brought a little bit of comedy to it, but he did. I was like, nobody's dressed appropriate in a machete with open-toed shoes. Bad look,
Yeah.
really bad look. Now, then I hated how we go from that and we show up at the booth like Enid's just sitting in a cafe, with her little check, that a waitress would have written an order on with her JSS, just survived somehow, right? And then she goes to the door like she's going to walk out the front door, and she shows no emotion for the walkers and none for the living people. She is broken. She does
Yeah.
not. I mean, she cares for herself because she's learned to evade them. She clearly wants to live and won't admit it. Go ahead, Moms.
Yeah, she's just a scared little girl. I don't know if Glenn talks to her in this episode or if it's the next episode because I watched a couple of clips. And he talks about you got to live for the people that you've lost. So he is mimicking what, was it Michonne that said that? No, it was Rosita
Rosita?
that said that.
At the
Yeah, so
machete,
he said
yes.
the same thing to Enid. Yeah,
And
but
she
she's
needs,
just a frightened little girl.
okay, that makes sense, but she needs a desire to protect other people, and like Eugene, it's not her first reaction.
Did you notice when it's like at first he was talking about this is for Maggie, and then near the end he was talking about, well, this is for me now.
Yes, that was weird. Then he sneaks up behind her, right? And he asks her, of all things, why'd you give me water? And she said, I had it, you needed it, we're not friends. She's like a petulant 4-year-old, but I think maybe it's what you said, Mom. She's a scared little girl.
Yeah, and you got to remember, what is she, 16 or 17?
Yeah.
And she survived on her own. She watched her parents get eaten, and she survived.
Right.
So her first instinct is to build those walls and run away. Like whenever they came across the wall with all the walkers around it, her first instinct was, oh well, turn around and walk away. And it wasn't, I'm not going to save them people. It's, I'm scared and I'm trying to survive here.
Instead, I just look like I'm tough, but I'm not. And then he has to explain to her the air horn caused half the herd to break off and head towards what he called home, which is Alexandria. And she had no emotion there either because to her, it's not home, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think she's working with the wolves, so she assumed that everybody was dead or captured by the wolves.
Got you, because they would have been superior because the place is too big to protect, got too many blind sides. Good point, Moms. Yep, see, you're full of them. And then, how about on the way back? And she's like a 4-year-old walking in the grass. And then, now the green balloons, you and Jason will know this. Was that the balloons that Rick was supposed to park next to? The green balloons,
that was
which was the halfway point?
Those are like mile
that was
markers,
the
I
all
think.
safe one. The green ones were the all safe, all clear ones.
That's why there was a helium tank hidden in the bushes with more string.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what
point.
Gotcha. So then maybe they could come through at different ones and they'd all have enough to release. Okay, and I loved how Enid, right, is tying him onto her backpack. Then he tells her there's more, and she just goes to fill him up, right? And she's like his little slave laborer.
Yeah. Well, a kid in a candy store with balloons. Oh, I gotta have balloons.
Yes, yes. Still with no smile
Do that
on it,
again,
right?
Jason. Do that again.
But don't you think those balloons would attract the walkers when it was on her, when she arrived at the wall or close to the wall?
It certainly could have. It's why. But in this case, perhaps they know that green is like a repellent to walkers or something. But I thought the same thing. I wouldn't want those tied to my backpack. I might tie them on my wrist or something, but I wouldn't want them hooked to my backpack. Because you notice they never, ever drop their pack because that's all they have, They got nothing else.
You got to consider, too, that they're behind all the walkers. They basically cleared that whole area. They're either with Sasha and
True.
where they were taking them, or they're at the wall now. So that area is completely cleared up until the wall.
Yep. Now, who is the guy? I don't know his name. Big, tall guy who's helping Rick at the wall. He went to help him shore it up. Does anybody know his name?
I think that might be Clayton, but I'm not sure.
It might be, right, or Cliff something. Yep.
Maybe.
So he says to Rick, when you first came in here, you scared the heck out of us, and including himself, right? When they saw him, he had a beard. And I like the way he's trying to gently explain to Rick that things moved real slow here. Then they started to move fast. And too fast. They started to move too fast, but don't give up on us. And we talked about last week, and you just talked a little bit about it, Moms, that Rick's mentality is them against us, is they've just brought their thuggery and their skills into that community, but they haven't taught anybody else how to do it, right? Remember, like when Rick finds the gate open from Gabriel that time, where Spencer goes, hey, close the gate. And Rick doesn't go get other people to come help him look for walkers. He fights them himself, then dumps them in the meeting. And I like the way that guy said, don't give up on us. Because Rick hasn't even thought of that. And then we saw that when Tara's hanging off the wall. And she must be in real life pregnant because she looks strange.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, she's looking very large, and they're dressing her in a way that she was kind of clearly pregnant. You don't expose your neck. She just looks like she's gained 50 pounds. And she's hanging off the wall, and Rick's like, what the hell, Tara? That's the second time you almost got yourself killed for these people. And even Michonne looks at him like he's crazy, and Tara shoots him the bird.
I love that part.
So it's kind of only him and Glenn, him and Daryl, who have not become part of that community, because Carol fit in being the fake Betty Crocker, right?
Well, what do you think about when Carol was dropping off Judith and she was talking to Sam? I was wondering if she was going to be able to get Sam to come downstairs.
Me too.
I think you're going to find that she is going to be the one that does that. But that was a reference to that. Remember whenever she said he followed her and he thought she was making cookies?
Yes.
When he followed her into the armory and she scared the crap out of him?
Yes.
That was a reference. The monster part was a reference to that.
Yeah.
She has such a connection, and he does with her, but our Carol don't miss nothing, right? Seeing Morgan walk and then Dr. Denise quite a ways behind him. But I didn't quite understand the dialogue with Jessie when she went, I know you watched Judith this morning, but would you, because she was going to take a shift at the wall, and then Jessie said, are you sure you don't want me to take a shift at the wall? And Carol said, no, I like the view up there. I can see everything in here and out there. And then I liked how Jessie was going to lock up. Remember, they didn't lock their doors before. And did Carol need a set of keys for her to get to the place that Morgan was, or did she have them, or did anyone figure that part out other than was she just using Jessie to watch Judith?
I think she was just using Jessie to watch Judith. And Carol's still trying to stay incognito. She's carrying a gun now, but she's still trying to maintain that
Betty Crocker thing. Okay, see, I forgot that. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Carol as Betty Crocker is just cool.
Oh, yeah, and Daryl, when he first saw her, remember, come out in her little cashmere sweater, and she goes, have you bathed yet? And he's like, no, and she goes, you need to, and he goes, you look ridiculous. And she was like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. You could tell her, oh, yeah, this outfit's right on. Okay, so now then we go right back to Glenn and Enid. We bounce around, and this is what I found interesting. He asked, who did you stay with at home? Meeting Alexandria? And she goes, Olivia's, but of course it's not her home. And Glenn tells her she's scared, right? And she goes, I mean, I lived there with Olivia, but she didn't, help her at all. So
Olivia's in her own little world. She's still carrying her cell phone.
Oh, that's the one who
Olivia's the barista. She's the one that's doing the commissary kind of area.
Yes.
You know, and she said that, she's still carrying her cell phone.
That's right.
She made a comment about one of these days it's going to ring and scare her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's made, even though they've, Deanna maybe assigned her to live at Olivia's, no one has mentored Enid. I wouldn't make much effort to get through that 4-year-old angry girl routine. You would, moms, because you're a mom and you're compassionate. But yeah, so Enid, I didn't realize after being in there all this time, she's really been on her own. Oh, and I love how like a 4-year-old.
She went over the wall.
Yes, and wouldn't listen to Carl, like Carl wouldn't stay in his damn room back in the day, you know. And I love how she gets mad at Glenn like a 4-year-old. We don't have to talk. We don't have to talk. And Glenn's just jabbering away, right? I enjoyed
Well,
that
Glenn,
part.
I think he's realizing, hey, I'm going to be a dad. I need how to figure out how to do this. I need to, if everything goes right, I'm going to have a teenager one day. So I think Glenn is
Yes.
falling into that daddy syndrome.
Yeah.
God, and he was such a baby face guy when he started, Moms.
Yeah.
Oh,
Clean face. No
and then
mustache.
yeah, how about, oh yeah, he's almost got a mustache in his mind. How about Ron going in and distracting? Is that Olivia, Moms, in the pantry near the armory?
Yeah.
And he's able to make her walk a big square and then gets a handful of bullets. That made the hair on my neck stand up.
Well, Ron is just creepy. He's said several times Rick cannot be trusted. So in his mindset, Rick and that whole group is the enemy. Rick killed Pete, so he's mad because he killed his dad, and he's also mad at Carl because he thinks Carl screwed up his relationship with Enid. So Carl could die this in the season finale, a mid-season finale, or the comics have him. Deanna shoots his eye out in the comics by accident. So something might happen to Carl, and it would be really easy to set him up to get bit. So I think we're going to see Ron make a play.
And I like what Fuzzfork said. He said, since these folks knew that at some junction they could get overrun, why didn't they search out an alternative shelter to run to? And I know that the people in Alexandria didn't even understand the danger, right? But I think of what he asked in the sense of our crew. Our crew can walk out right at the gates and just start making their way and find shelter. But that's a good question. But I think they thought their walls were so strong, and because that quarry, just by chance of geography, right, of chance of location, that all those walkers were trapped, they would have been overrun at the beginning had that quarry not been there. And so they just didn't think they would ever need another place than Alexandria. It was just perfect. It's their little utopia, I think.
Yep.
I think the wall would have stand up if the little beams were on the other side, because they're on this side and the church fell that way, so it would have been better if it was like that.
Oh yeah, engineering-wise, that wall makes me stick my finger in my nose and go, I don't understand. I mean, I realize, because we learned from the prison, remember, they were trying to shore up against the fences with some wood sideways, but pushing out against the walkers. And I kind of get the theory of both, but it never occurred to them what our group knows, that a herd can push, and heck, it took down the prison fences. Remember, it started to break. This group is just, they're still in the junior league, right?
Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, Moms, no, go. Mm-hmm.
Even at the prison, they were killing walkers that came up to the fence. They would stick that pole through the fence. I don't understand why they're not doing this here. And I don't understand why they just didn't refortify that quarry. Maybe firm up the sides or something. Just, because it's already a safe place. I mean, relatively. You were getting 1 or 2 zombies getting out of there. If you just make it a little bit more secure, you wouldn't have all that overrun of walkers.
Now, they talked about that, and when they went back to town, and evidently when that 18-wheeler that was up against the upper level fell, that was blocking in a bunch of them. And then where we saw the 2 trailers backed up, that was when they had to start running, remember? Is that stream there was no way, they said, to shore that up. Just no way that they could get it done with evidently thousands of them. But it had to do with that when they were looking at eye level from their cliff to the middle, and that 18-wheeler with its trailer fell down, and then we saw all of them pouring over. So they kind of explained that in a way that, and remember, it had rained like all get out, so that made a difference too. And then when Glenn and Enid come around that corner in the road, and we can hear the walkers surrounding them, right? And what does Enid do? What's the point? The world's trying to die. We're supposed to let it. And Glenn's face, he was just devastated by that.
Well, and then that's when he revealed to her that Maggie's pregnant.
Oh, that's right. That was at that point. Now then, we go straight from there to Spencer crawling like an army guy who's a Navy SEAL wannabe, hanging over with we don't know what. Is it rope? A grappling hook? And this Mr. No Experienced was too scared, remember, to even stick the walker in the 18-wheeler, right? And somebody else had to do it. And he's going to go across the walkers. And then, of course, his grappling hook bends, and then he falls down. You know, what'd y'all think of that?
Well, I got to thought. I don't think he was actually trying to save everybody. I think he was trying to run.
Yeah. Just get out of there.
You know, his little excuse was, I was going to go try to get a car and try to draw him away. No, I think he was trying to run.
And he seemed maybe a little intoxicated because he lost a shoe. And when they haul him up over the wall, and even Morgan had to come help, he goes, oh man, I lost my shoe. He just was not affected by the fact he almost freaking became walker bait, right? And he actually hit the ground. And if it weren't for Tara hanging over and for maybe Michonne shooting him right in the forehead like only our crew can aim, right, he would have been killed right there.
Yeah.
But he was not bothered.
He'd been Walker Chow for sure.
Yeah.
And then
well, I think
Rick
it was I think the only reason why. Go ahead, Jason.
Like right after that is like after Rick and Deanna were talking about why they did it, but Rick was talking about he could have just took that opening of a gap that was made and then take off.
Oh, him and Michonne, you darn Skippy. Go ahead, Mom. She wanted to say something.
That part with Spencer, I think the only reason why they put that in there, because he wasn't in any of the other scenes. I think the only reason why he was in there was to say to Rick, would you have listened to me anyhow? I think they're trying to make Rick come into the unification of Alexandrians.
Yeah.
You know, you're not a part of me, I'm not a part of you, but I'm trying to tell you you need to be a part of me. You know, and I think that's the only reason why that scene was in there.
That makes sense, because remember he told Deanna, they listen to you, you've got to lead them, and she said, no, you do. So when he's fussing at Spencer, a grown man, you need to come to me before you do something like that. And just what you said, and he goes, why? Would you have listened? And I still don't see Rick having a light bulb moment. I don't think he's willing to, but I like his thinking, which this is my group, right? Michonne, Daryl, right? But now he's got so few left. You got 4 on the other side who I just think it's weird. But see, that makes sense. I don't know if they let him lead, though. Do you think they would, Moms? Would they let Rick lead them?
I don't think right now. I mean, up until the point where the wall fell, I think they were considering it. And now that the wall has been penetrated, they're going to blame him. And I think Morgan is going to make a play as a leader. I think he's going to force, because you have polar opposite ideologies there.
Yes.
Rick, let's kill everybody, and Morgan is, there's more value to people's lives. Now, I don't know if that's walkers that he's talking about too, or human life.
But it could be Morgan's fault as well why the wolves attacked, because if he would have killed that wolf when he had the chance, or both of those 2 wolves that he came into before he went to Alexandria, that attack wouldn't have happened.
The horn would have never happened.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Exactly. That's a very good point. It does go full circle back to Morgan. Instead, he shoved him in the car, remember, because he can't kill, and was honking the horn. You know? And then I'm very curious that when we get to see the next episode, does he explain to Dr. Denise when she willfully follows him. Remember, he didn't want to involve her. Did he say, I got a wolf, right, who's been bitten? Would you come take a look at it on the infection? And did she willingly go?
He wasn't bitten. I think he got caught on the glass whenever Morgan put him up against the wall.
That's right. Yes,
he's a glass cut.
Okay, and then he's worried about it with the pus and the heat. Okay, because I thought if he's putting her in an area where she could get bit and we lose the only doctor in that place, that's going to suck over the life of a wolf, because that guy's a psychopath, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, what kind of mentality have you got to have to keep someone that dangerous in your group? Even though he thinks he's locked up, which we all know eventually he's going to get loose. They always do.
Get loose during the mid-season finale when Morgan tries to help everybody.
At what point do you put that kind of danger on your friends and everybody? You know, when there's enough danger anyway.
Yes. Now, is next Sunday, y'all, our last episode?
Yes, that's the mid-season finale.
Oh, dear God. How do we resolve this?
They got a lot of tying up to do before they can resolve anything. I think it might be a 90-minute episode, but I'm not sure because they have so much they need to tie up.
Oh no, just gonna leave it wide open for the other part of the season.
But we know that they cannot kill all the walkers that have come in, right? So do we have Morgan, Denise, and that wolf stuck in the basement or whatever, the cell, whatever Carol called it? What?
And maybe Carol, because Carol confronted Morgan.
Went to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she called it a cell, Jason, when she opened the kind of burglar bar gate, over the door and said, "Who on earth do you have in that cell?" They don't have a cell in there or jail. What did she mean by that? Do y'all know?
Oh, it's burglar doors with all the locks on it. It kind of turns it into a cell.
Oh, okay, all right. But now, and Jason, she could be stuck in there now. Even Michonne can't get out there, right, with her katana, and be swinging off all those heads because there were hundreds of them, easily.
You've got a whole bunch of the Alexandrians that have been learning to use the machetes.
Yeah, for like a couple hours.
Tommy, we saw 5 of them. That's not a whole bunch. A whole bunch is like, 11. That was 5.
Yeah, but
there were more. There were more at the prayer circle than what there were in training with the machetes.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you still got Michonne with that katana, and she took out. What was it last season when she took out that whole little small herd by herself, and there's like 30 of them?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Remember Tyrese stepping out of that kind of building where he was watching Judith, and he went out that front door, and we thought we'd never see him again, and he just laid him out. But that was Tyrese. But now we got what? Tara up on the wall. Is the wall going to fall past the bell? What the heck? But yeah, it's next week. The only thing we can think of is maybe Patty, right? The fuel truck's going to fill the hole, but that was a really big steeple, right? This is frickin' doodle. Yes, just like Carol saved all them. But this was very intense. And then Ron walking behind Carl, right, putting his hand on the waistband.
Oh no, he actually pulled the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's he going to use?
Did y'all notice when Enid pulled the gun on Glenn that she didn't have her finger on the trigger?
Yes. Yes, it wasn't even
nowhere near that trigger.
It wasn't even in a straight position. I was like, who taught her how to hold the gun? Yeah.
Apparently no one that knew how to.
Oh, no one taught her anyways, I think.
Oh, now Fuzz made a good point. Maybe the group's only hope is that the truck that Daryl found, Patty, still has gasoline in it to burn the walkers. But, as they walk, they're going to burn down all the houses, too.
Well,
Alexandra does get destroyed in the comics, but it has already been destroyed.
Okay,
Not
at this
they're
point.
following the comics.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they actually had like a little semi that has like a big giant gas thing in the back. and that's where they start at, the Dwight and those two other girls. It was just flipped over or something like that. That was the thing that they started it. So Patty wasn't the one that got the gasoline out and blowing up.
Okay.
What I was figuring.
Oh, that's why they were going back for her.
Yeah, Patty was still full, so that was a full tank of
Oh.
gas with a working vehicle.
Yeah.
So that was enough gas to get them wherever they were going.
Good observation.
I like what Kathy, Mrs. Manland, says. She thinks Carol would be a better leader than Rick, and I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because Carol's going to look at him and say, do you want to live or die?
She gonna show them the pretty flowers.
Yeah.
Morgan
Come
would
look at my
pretty
flowers.
flowers. I'm
Come
just
over
saying.
for casserole.
Yes, yeah, we're all having dinner tonight.
Yeah, come on
All right.
for casserole. We'll go check out the flowers in the garden.
Oh, and Moms, I watched all 13 episodes, 2 seasons of Survivors, and at one point when the felon guy has to go kill an injured guy who was one of the prisoners in the coal mine, and he's got a ripped spleen, and the doctor, and he's got him laying out in the field, and he tells him, oh, look over there at the trees, like Carol said, look at the flowers, and he smothers him to put out of his misery, and he goes, you see the birds? And he's like, oh, I can almost see them, and then he kills them. That was such a Walking Dead of, look at the flowers, Lizzie, look at the pretty flowers. All right, guys. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so we got to sign off, but another great Walking Dead chat.
Yeah, but who do you think is going to die this mid-season finale? Because it seems to be an occurrence of people dying in mid-seasons.
Carl.
No, I don't think Carl will die. I think Judith will die.
Yeah. I think maybe Tara, she could.
Yeah, because they kind of need to take the pregnant girl out. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way she's been acting was like risking her life for others. So she may be risking her life for one of the Alexandrians.
I think she's very comfortable and happy there. And, well, with the mid-season break, they don't have to kill her because she's pregnant. But they couldn't have let her pregnancy get much more because there's no storyline for it. But by the time they come back, she'll have had her baby. But, boy, she took on a risk on a good career, for when you're an actor and a small show like this turns into something good. She picked the wrong time to get pregnant, so believe me, this was not planned, because she's lucky they didn't write her out of the show already. This isn't the kind of show where you can come back in a week and go, the character of Tara is now being played by, right, and they replace it like a soap opera, and she took it. But yeah, it was so apparent how much weight she's gained. And to me, she's such a great character, but if they weren't going to mid-season, they'd have had to get her killed, because there's no, we can't go for weeks with her pregnancy getting bigger.
Well, Denise plays a big part in, like, whenever they meet the Hilltop people. That's Nagin, or Nagins. How do you say that, Jason?
Nagin. Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Yeah. When they meet him, the doctor plays a huge role in that. And so I thought maybe they'd just take Tara along with her, since they're already kind of starting a relationship.
Gotcha.
But we'll
see.
Well,
it's going to be intense next week, I'll tell you that. And I hate waiting for the Talking Dead, the show that comes on after this, with turning into whatever that stupid sword show is. It is so hard for me to stay up that late, because I don't have a DVD, whatever, VCR, nothing. So I like to watch the second one to catch some, hey, Oily, some of the things we missed. So, all right, so we got to sign off because it's 5 after 10 and we only go an hour. So thank you,
bye,
folks.
everybody.
I'm glad your computer's working. You add a lot to it. Night, everybody.
Night.
Night, everybody.